A very warm Monday afternoon. Welcome to everybody. It's live with the waterhole time. It's the day after Father's Day, so I hope everybody enjoyed their Sunday. And we have started out the afternoon at Oldonyo Lodge in Kenya with a couple of beautiful elephant bulls enjoying a drink. My name is Ben Coley. I will be with you for the next 2 hours, and we will do our usual foray across the different cameras, all the way across southern and some of eastern Africa, and see some of the natural delights of offer today. But it's live, it's interactive, as it always is for the next 2 hours. I'm here to answer any and all of your questions and comments, so please do send in anything you'd like to talk about, and maybe we can get a bit of a debate going. But for now, we will watch the queue forming at Oldonyo. I've seen a half of a head of a giraffe and a zebra sticking their heads in. Obviously, looking forward to a bit of a drink if these two big bulls give them any space, but we will have to wait and see if they are willing to do so. I think that sort of characteristic sound you could just hear, almost like a hissing sound, was that male was having a drink with his trunk clamped over the water pipe that feeds that dam, just sucking in a little bit of air, a little bit like end of a drink with a straw. You can see this elephant on the right doesn't look too happy with all these other animals coming down to share the water. Ears spread out, giving them a bit of a glare. But fair play to the zebra and the giraffe, showing minimal fear today and taking the opportunity, a bit of safety in numbers perhaps. Good afternoon to Penelope Kenyon and Joanne Mello. Glad to see you can join us again. And yes, it is a beautiful day. Still a little bit of cloud around after a few days of less than nice weather up here in the Hoedspruit area, but of course that's nothing compared to some of the problems that other parts of the country have had. Our hearts go out to the people affected by the flooding in the Eastern Cape over the last few days, and of course we've had snow in areas of KwaZulu-Natal as well. So we can't scoff too much at a little bit of cloud cover only here in Hoedspruit. Fuzzy Dunlop, happy Monday to you. You're hoping for a 1 ton appearance. Yes, I am still waiting for the world famous 1 ton elephant bull to appear during a live session on a live at the waterhole that I am doing. So maybe today is the day. I hope I recognize him if I do see him, because I've never seen him before. But I have no doubt you, our eagle-eyed viewers, will let me know if he does turn up, and that would be a nice one to tick off the list. Nadine has just informed me in my ear that I will know him if he arrives. I assume he is quite the specimen. But we will see. We'll cross fingers. It's yet to happen. But you never know. I've had lion before, we've had leopard before. So anything is possible. But how nice is this to see all the animals sharing the water? You can see the zebras are a little nervous. The elephants are being fairly tolerant. I think this one on the right, as we're looking at it, is sort of debating whether or not to cause some problems, but I think is accepting the situation at the moment. So Giraffe thought about it, but it's a scary proposition when you have to do the splits and you're in a little bit of a difficult situation. Come on, Giraffe, try again. She's lost the support of the little herd of zebras. Let's see if she can still pluck up the courage. Afternoon to Mercedes Bean as well, greeting myself, all other chatters, Nadine in my ear, and all the other wonderful people in Johannesburg who make this possible. Oh, I'm glad our giraffe has managed to summon up the courage. think that other elephant just said, "You're welcome to have a drink, but you must use the other side of the dam. This is my spot." I haven't done as many live at the waterholes as I would have liked recently due to other commitments, but certainly a few months back, I assume when it was a lot drier towards the end of last year, we were seeing some huge herds of zebras coming down to drink here, in excess of maybe even 100 or more individuals, which was always very entertaining with them scuffling and kicking and biting each other. But since only seen smaller groups, sort of the more classic harem structure of a stallion with a small group of mares in tow. I can only assume that that is because Kenya or East Africa is coming out of the wet season, that there's plenty of water to go around, so the animals are not required to group together and take advantage of those resources that are provided for them. It's still lovely to see a little bit of diversity of animals, two or three different species meeting at the waterhole for a discussion of what happened over the weekend. Sanjeev Roy, that's a nice point, well made. So you're saying that despite their size, the giraffe pays respect to all creatures, and that they're the only creatures that you think that follows the jungle protocol, whereas the rest, whoever is big and powerful, have the right. So I think there's something about a giraffe, isn't it? It's just the way a giraffe carries itself. I can't imagine a bullish giraffe, a sort of a pushy giraffe. They look like such relaxed, chilled out creatures. But they do, I agree. They're very respectful animals, giraffe. So this elephant has obviously got a sphere of personal space that he doesn't want entered, tolerating the other ones. But if they get too close, just a little wave of the trunk or a flap of the ears is enough to send the zebras scattering.
I feel it is a rosetted morning for us. So yes, let's see what we can find.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. I grew up mostly in the Lowveld. I grew up here pretty much on the southern side of Kruger National Park, a place called Marlow Park, for most of my years. Something surprising about myself, I did play drums in a band for many years. Best sighting I presented, we found Palumba and the two cubs, and the cubs are just way big.
Every month, something wild lands in your inbox. From rare sightings and behind-the-scenes secrets to expert stories, seasonal changes, and exclusive travel opportunities, the Wild Earth Journal is your free monthly mailer, packed with the magic of the wild straight from the field. It's fun, it's free, it's full of surprises. Sign up now on the Wild Earth website.
This poor elephant on the right looks a little uncomfortable. I think the zebras and the giraffe are still hanging around, and he's been very tolerant up till now, but he's decided maybe that's enough. Can't be putting up with all these stripy and patchy animals staring at me whilst I have a nice drink. I shall turn my sizable back on them. But you can see the ears were coming out, the head was coming high, little head flap, no direct aggression towards the other animals, but just showing his decreasing levels of tolerance. It's interesting what's happening with this elephant. He's not drinking, but you can see the way his trunk is still twitching as if he was sort of just playing with the top of the water, the way that elephants often do. I wonder if he's a little bit grumpy because he wants access to the inflow pipe that the other one is monopolizing. Sort of see him looking over the corner of his eye there, maybe just trying to dupe the other one into thinking, come on, it's time to go. And then if he does take the bait, maybe he will rush in and take ownership of that inflow pipe. It's interesting to watch how these elephants interact with each other, particularly the bulls. We see it a lot in the herd structure, of course, with the females and the youngsters, but lots going on in these bachelor groups of elephant bulls. I see we've had an interesting question from Ingrid Ludlow, Jane Ingrid Ludlow, apologies, asking what colour are an elephant's eyes? Well, perhaps we can zoom in and get a closer look, but they're generally kind of a chestnut or a dark amber colour, but quite difficult to see a lot of the time because of those big sort of droopy eyelids and those very long, rather lush eyelashes that are just there to protect their eyes against all the dust and sticking their heads into thorny trees to feed on. But it's a good size, and their eyes are probably similar to ours in terms of visual acuity, we think. But they have more rods than we do. They do give off a slight reflection if you shine a spotlight in an elephant's eyes, which please do not. It's not very nice for them. But if you're driving a car and your headlights light up an elephant, you might see a slight reflection. That's from that reflective layer of crystals at the back of the retina, the tapetum lucidum. So they have a sort of a minimal one of those. And also a few more rods than we do to allow them to see better in darker situations. And they also have quite a wide, almost horizontal pupil, which is often the way that the fovea, which is the focal point of the eye at the back of the eye, will also be quite horizontal. And we find that in a lot of herbivorous creatures and those animals that live out on the open plains, because it just gives them a wider point of focus to match the horizon, which is very important if you are trying to look out for potential predators. You can see it in horses as well, for example. But see, very well protected that eye, not much going to get in there in terms of dust and things. Those long eyelashes like a pair of curtains over the eyes. But again, an angry elephant or a surprised elephant will have the eyes wide open. And then you see the colour a little bit more clearly, and some of the whites of the cornea as well, you can see. And don't forget, of course, they also have a nictitating membrane, like many animals and all birds do. That third eyelid that sweeps from left to right, and just to help remove any little dust particles that do get in there, which is inevitable when you're spraying dust on yourself to cool down. And so not uncommon to see quite a few little hojos, a few little bookies flying around their eyes, looking for that moisture. But it sounds like our little cheetah cubs are out and about. Let's go catch up with them and see how they're doing. Interesting to see how big they are now. Oh, look. How cool is that? We go from the largest land animal on the planet to some little tiny baby cheetahs that are having a little bit of a scuffle. All good opportunities for play. Some left hooks coming in. But isn't this just adorable? You can see that lovely mantle of silver fur down their back, the potential honey badger camouflage, as it's known. I'm sure they've got sharp little needle-like teeth at this age, rather similar to kittens. Of course, cheetah have quite small teeth and small heads and small jaws in comparison to their larger cousins. I'm not sure if we've sexed them, if we know exactly the ratio of sexes, but of course, if there are males there, the males will likely stay together for their entire life and form a coalition. I actually got to see a new coalition of cheetahs the other day. I was on Makalali Private Game Reserve, which is about half an hour outside of Hoedspruit. So I was doing a bird slide and sound assessment for somebody for their for Gaza qualifications. And they used to have a very strange coalition, actually, on Makalali. They used to have a father and a son who were a coalition, and they stuck around together for their lives. But it seems that I'm not sure exactly what happened to them, but they are no longer around. I assume possibly fell prey to lions. And they've been replaced with, I believe they brought in a coalition of four. I'm not sure where they came from. One has disappeared. They've not found any evidence of what happened to it. But the other three are still doing well, and I saw them lying in the middle of the road on my way through, which was really nice to see. Mercedes Ben, I'm glad we are able to show you your favourite verbal foursome. Excellent alliteration. I do like a good alliteration. But they are incredibly cute. Ross, you want to know the odds of only having boys? Well, that's a question for statisticians, but I don't know the official documented sex ratio skew for cheetahs, but in most species it's pretty much 50-50. Um, so the odds of her having four boys, I suppose they're certainly reasonable. I mean, you do get coalitions of four, five. Male cubs is not uncommon, and cheetahs can have up to, I think I read at least, there have been records of eight cubs. Imagine having eight cubs. But the chances of them getting to adulthood, unfortunately, are slim. Of all the predators, you probably say that the cheetah have the slimmest chance of reaching adulthood, unfortunately, just due to their more exposed lifestyle in terms of their habitat, and of course their inability to defend themselves very well against any of the other potential predators out there. Joanne Miller, you're saying cheetah cubs are the cutest of all babies. I don't think many people would argue that point, Joanne. I wish have seen more in with my eyes in front of me. I've seen a few, but I don't think I've seen any this young out in the wild. Maybe about 4 or 6 months. It's possibly the youngest. But they look like little bears wrestling, don't they? I mean, for me, and I lucky enough to have seen some very small ones, leopard cubs are just utterly so cute. I remember I had one sighting when I was at Sabi Sabi many years ago now, with the one female leopard who was our most commonly seen. She was known as Nottens, and at that time she had 3 cubs, and I shall never forget this day. They came out of the bushes. We were following them. We were parked on the road. Mum came out heading straight towards the vehicle. Went around the front bumper and carried on, and these 3 little cubs, who were probably about the same size as these cheetah cubs, so yeah, about 6 weeks, maybe 2 months perhaps. They came out of the long grass and just came straight towards my Land Rover and went underneath it and just carried on walking and came out the other side and followed Mum as if we were nothing there. It obviously didn't even have to stoop to get underneath the car, but that was pretty amazing to have 3 cubs walk under my Land Rover and out the other side. And a little bit later in that sighting, the female took out a Dacre, and we got to watch them all feed. And I'm sorry for anyone who's got a weak stomach, but it was the first time that I'd seen this. That she opened the Dacre up and actually pulled out a fetus that was inside. So it was a pregnant Dacre, a sort of perfectly formed, rather small miniature Dacre, which she then went off and ate on her own, whilst the cubs enjoyed the fruits of her hunt. But that was an incredible day.
For years, we've shared virtual wildlife. Now, let's experience it for real. I'm Lauren Arthur, and I'd love to show you my amazing home here in the Greater Kruger of South Africa. This 5-night journey is an exclusive connection to my piece of untamed Africa. I live here in these gorgeous landscapes surrounded by epic wildlife. The wild is calling, so come and join me.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. The best driver at Wild Earth, it is me. I believe I'm the best driver. I think so because I've. Best part of my job, I say, is just to try and look out for these animals, track them down. I love tracking animals. I love looking for, fresh tracks, and if you can find them, it's just at the moment of accomplishment. If I wasn't a presenter for Wild Earth, I would be the drummer for AC/DC.
This is what they call a shambi, a family, a whole herd of elephants.
But nature is beyond amazing. Nature is just everything.
We'd love to hear from you. Questions, comments about biology, Africa, safari.
She's using her tail like a monkey.
It looks rough, but I don't think that it's there's no true aggression there. And so now it's all a bit too much. This one's lying on its back with its feet up in the air. Very, very cute. Got such beautiful little faces, haven't they? With those tear lines very, very obvious even from this young age. Joan Mello, I'm beginning to come around to your idea that these are the cutest of all the babies. There is something about their face that's just so soft and just makes you want to go, oh, and give it a tickle with a finger. And this one's gone for the corner. Get comfy in those dry leaves. And Karen, you're saying definitely your favorite predator. And many people's, including my dad's as well, favorite animal, but notoriously difficult to find if you come out on safari. It seems that spots makes you difficult to find, makes you difficult to spot. You could say it's normally the leopard and or the cheetah will be the last one of those marquee animals that you tick off on a safari trip out here. Obviously, very much dependent upon which areas you go to. Makalali, for example, I didn't see very many leopards there, but we used to see cheetah quite regularly. Um, there are areas that you can go within the Sabi Sands and the Greater Kruger where you'll have a better opportunity to see cheetahs, but there just aren't the numbers that there are of everything else. They are not particularly successful in this area just because the type of habitat, so much reclaimed farmland, a lot of bush encroachment, a lot of heavy vegetation, which is just not really what cheetahs are designed for. Best places to go? Namibia and East Africa. Open grasslands, more openy desert areas. Perfect place to be able to engage top gear and utilize all those very specific adaptations that cheetahs have to make them a formidable hunting machine. Lenny, I see you've also said that HESC hasn't announced the sexes yet, so it is quite difficult to tell unless we get a really close look. So we will await news on that. It'll be interesting to know what the ratio is. Molly, hard to say why female cheetahs aren't social, um, but remember that is the norm to not be social. Lions are the only social cat in the world, as far as I'm aware, at least. So most cats are solitary. Lions are kind of the odd ones out, and male cheetahs forming coalitions as well, but I suppose it makes more sense to be on your own if there's more of you together. You have to hunt more, you have to find more food, you're more visible and more obvious. And maybe they feel that because of the threat of other predators, having a group of female cheetahs, as amazing that would be to see, with a bunch of youngsters, would attract too much attention, perhaps from lions, leopards, hyenas, and all the other things that would very much like to rid the world of baby cheetahs, unfortunately. So, yeah, hard to know, say why that is the case, but it is the norm for cats, particularly, to be solitary. Beautiful view of those claws, still rather sharp at the moment, but they will blunt with age. Of course, they don't retract back into that sheath, they're always out. So, with more and more walking, they will get filed down and become relatively blunt, but still very important for chasing things at high speeds. But it looks like things have quietened down a little bit now, all a little bit too much exercise for these youngsters. So let's leave them to it for a while and go to Serendella, where I believe we have some buffaloes. We do have some buffaloes. Sure, that one on the right's got a magnificent set of horns. A very well established boss. Well, they both do, but it's quite widespread, this one on the right. They look very pale as well. The buffalo look dark and their horns look a lot whiter, a lot more contrasts than I'm used to seeing. It may just be the colours on the camera, of course. But not what you want to bump heads with. Nadine was just telling me about that fight between two males that was seen on Chitwa yesterday, two buffalo bulls. It's not something you see very often, actually, two buffaloes really going hammer and tong at each other. I think I've only ever seen what I would consider to be a proper serious fight once. And it was actually whilst I was driving somewhere. I can't honestly remember where I was going, but they were on the other side of the fence. I was on the road driving my normal car going from point A to point B, and I could see this happening, so I slowed down to watch. And it probably must have been 50 meters or so from where the action was taking place, but the noise of those two, yes, we're talking about you. The noise of those two bosses crashing against one another and the power that they were putting behind it, how they didn't end up with splitting migraines afterwards, they probably did. But really brutal. There is so much condensed power inside that body. David, he is the boss, all right, indeed. The judge, the boss. What's distracting you, boy? But you can see he looks a bit bigger than the one on the right, and just the size of those front quarters, particularly. A tank with armor-plated horns. No wonder that they cast fear into so many guides. Always considered the thing you least wants to find on a walk, although touch wood, I am yet in all my career to have had a serious issue with any buffaloes on foot. Long may that continue. But a very intimidating creature. So if you've ever seen those rather harrowing footage on documentaries or have seen it in person of buffalo tossing lions around like they were rag dolls going 5, 6, 7 meters up into the air, just leaves little doubt into the power contained within those things. Right, I think let's head back up to Old Donyo, catch up with those elephants if they're still hanging around. We were enjoying some lovely close-up visuals before. See if they're still there. Well, one certainly is. Were you the slightly grumpier one? Have you got your way now? He stationed himself over the pipe. Just an ear on the right-hand side. I think this was the other one. The other one had slightly shorter tusks. This one does seem to have quite small tusks. So I wonder if this was all his plan all along, just loiter on the sidelines and wait for the opportunity. Well, looks like he's had all the water he requires, probably just a quick 100 litres or so, just to keep the engine cool. Let's see the other one possibly going to have a scratch against that umbrella thorn in the background. Nadine, I didn't hear where you said we could go next, but let's go there and it'll be a surprise for everybody. Ah, there we go. We've come to Oliphant's West Game Reserve on the Oliphants River. And a beautiful little female bushbuck. We don't get to see bushbuck all too often. Very nice to see out in the open. Possibly finding some seed pods or some, I know dried leaves doesn't sound like a particularly good diet, but remember now as we're sort of in late autumn, early winter, a lot of those leaves that have fallen off will still hold some energy. There'll be some carbohydrates that have remained in there post photosynthesis before the tree cut them off and shed them, so they still form a good opportunity to get some food. Lovely thin little mouth that they've got, a thin little muzzle poking around in the debris there.
This unfolds in front of you.
vegetation where there's lots of leaves and lots of dappled light. And we know for a fact that spots and blotches are very, very effective camouflage under those circumstances. Just look at the leopard, for example. You would think that maybe they might have developed a few more spots to help them blend in, but quite dark in colour as well, and they do tend to stick to the shadows, so I guess that is evidently working. Evolution has not felt the need to change anything yet, at least. Spels, you're saying you haven't seen very many bushbuck at Oliphants, but you said they used to be quite common. Difficult to know why you're not seeing as many now as you used to. My assumption would be something happening in terms of the change in vegetation, or perhaps a higher predator population than there used to be. But we're very grateful to see them anytime. Martinez, yeah, hard to know what it's eating. My guess would either be some dried leaves, as I said, that still have some nutrient purpose, either that or seed pods that have fallen down from whatever trees are above them, because they will still contain plenty of good food as well. So maybe some acacia seed pods or whatever else might be, but difficult to see what the trees are. But beautiful views, look at that. Nice to see so much water. Oh, what's that in the background? Something else moving. Another bushbuck? I was certainly feeding under an acacia there, so possibly some seed pods, but that little bank, I'm not sure if that's a root or a rock. But if the wind has been blowing, which it has been over the last few days, that could have acted as a barrier, so other potential small food resources could have been caught up against it, a bit like those defense mechanisms you put on for beaches to stop the sand dunes. That just creates a little wall, but no substitute for green produce. It's monkeys in the background. Hello, vervets. Espacio also mentioned that they were often seen in association with the baboons. You find a lot of antelope species hanging out with baboons and monkeys just because they act as excellent alarm systems. They've got very good eyes, they've got a nice high point of view, and they're very, very alert to movement and potential danger, and are very vocal if they do see potential danger. So it does make sense that a lot of animals form relationships with these baboons. Shungu Mchemwa, you are asking, assuming referring to the elephants we were watching at Oldonyo, how much water does the elephant drink per day? Well, we have to take into account there are different factors that control that. So how much how much water are they getting from the vegetation they are eating? How hot is it? What age is the elephant? But somewhere between 100 to 150 litres of water a day would be average for an adult, depending on, say, the conditions at that time. Karen, you want to know what's my most favourite African animal? I get asked this all the time, and it's so difficult. There are lots of things that I get very excited to see, but I've always maintained, and I don't think that it has changed yet anyway, that my favorite has always been the caracal. I've only seen probably five in the wild in the best part of 20 years. I know there are places where you can go to see them. I was at Mabulla last month with Cameron, and Cameron told me that her and I think it was Amy. Is it Amy or Kerry he was with? But either way, they saw a caracal, so I was hopeful. But yeah, I don't see them very often, caracals and servals. But I just think the caracal is such a beautiful, sleek-looking cat. I love the colour and those tufty ears that like the European lynx are very, very special. And they seem to have these sort of bluish coloured eyes sometimes as well, which I find very attractive. So yeah, I suppose if you push me, I'm going to go with a caracal or roika. Picasso, that's an interesting question and point. Hang on, I will come back to you in a minute. It sounds like we're going to go to, again, sorry, Nadine, you were a bit crackly there. I think you said we're going to Namibia somewhere, but again, let's go. It's all part of the fun and the surprise. So Onguma. And a rather static herd of wildebeest that look like they're watching a drive-in movie. And one's decided it's not for him. So Picasso, yeah, your question slash comment, asking, is it totally unusual to see suicide among animals, and that Dame Sheldrick in Kenya experienced it with a baby elephant, apparently. I don't know that specific story, so I can't comment on that, but certainly suicide amongst animals is very, very rare. I wouldn't say it's unheard of. I'll never say never, but it's not something you hear about very often at all. The only things that I know of that I could even say are relevant or vaguely relevant to that, there are some monogamous animals that if one of the partners dies because they're monogamous for life, the other one can sort of enter a state of depression and stop eating and generally just sort of say waste away sounds a bit harsh, but not look after themselves, lose a bit of motivation for life, which may end up being very detrimental to their survival. The only other suicidal tendencies that I'm aware of, you see in some insects. There are some grasshoppers that commit suicide by drowning themselves, but they are being forced into doing that due to some form of internal parasite. I forget what it's called, some sort of nematode, I think, that actually encourages or brainwashes the grasshopper to do so, so that it dies in the water. The nematode worm can get out. It's then eaten by, oh, I'm trying to remember the life cycle now, possibly eaten by a fish, which is then eaten by a bird. It all gets a bit confusing, but it's not suicide so much as it is mind control, zombification by an internal parasite. Maybe it's the one with the snail. Does the snail eat it and then defecate it, and then the bird eats the snail droppings? No, I think I'm getting confused with the green-banded broodsack, which is another parasite. Anyway, but that's all I can think of. But suicide in animals is very, very rarely recorded. Cecile, you're right. Amakala is a good place for caracal viewing. You said you've seen it there twice. I know that we've put a few on camera. Eric and I think Andrew both had caracal sightings down there. And that more sort of open scrubland is a little bit better for that type of thing. Again, here in the Lowveld, we're so dominated by lion, leopard, and hyena that those smaller predators do struggle a little bit. There's too much competition for them. But say over on Mabulla, where there are some more open plains, the lions are in a separate area of the reserve. There are few leopards around, So caracal and serval are more commonly seen on Mabulla as well. But never say never. I've seen a few in Greater Kruger. I've seen one in KZN. Narrowly missed seeing a pair of them in Kruger National Park a couple of months ago. People said that a pair just crossed the road and we could actually pretty much see the tall grass moving. We think they were chasing some Cory bustards around because the bustards were alarm calling and jumping up and flying and settling down again. But that was during the summer when the grass was sort of thigh height, which was just too much. We just couldn't see through the grass.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg, fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
Hyenas love bathing.
Some of you out there are brilliant at identifying hyenas.
Now, why do you think people have got this huge misunderstanding about reptiles?
Right in front of me there was the face of an astounded buffalo bull.
This is live and interactive, so everybody, if you have any questions and comments, please do send them through and let us know what you'd like.
And they benefit from each other again, safety in numbers in terms of looking out for danger. So often seen together, agreed, but not always. Not always. Very rugged landscape here. Some beautiful colours this time of year as well. Really different shades of oranges and greens and yellows and browns. A nice watercolour in the offing here. Lots of wildebeest hanging around, but and some springbok. They're very water dependent animals, of course, so unsurprising to see them so close to a beautiful body of water, a veritable oasis at Onguma. And lovely to see South Africa's national animal. That very obvious white belly, all designed to reflect the heat from these dry, arid areas radiating off the surface of all those rocks. Say one of the stories from Bushman's star lore as to what it is the Milky Way, that sort of diffuse line running across the sky, and was said to be the underbellies of a great herd of celestial springbok. So we haven't seen much. I've actually done 2 stargazing evenings last night and the night before, and we had to do quite a lot of cloud dodging, unfortunately, just so with the cloudier conditions. But it's forecasted to be mostly clear tonight, and then we should have a nice spate of clear weather, which is excellent news. Need to get out there and do some photography, take advantage of the dark skies now that the moon is well past full, only rising sort of closer to sort of 10, 11 o'clock tonight, I think. Oh, Mike, what's the best thing to see this time of year up in the night sky? Well, obviously, it depends on your equipment. If you've got a pair of binoculars, just scan the Milky Way. The Milky Way is rising now after dark in the east. Scorpio and Sagittarius harbors the core of the galaxy where the Milky Way is at its thickest, and then the Milky Way running up sort of through the Southern Cross and all the way down through the Great Argo Navis constellation, or what used to be. But just take your binos and have a look anywhere along the Milky Way, and you'll see lots of amazing objects to see. Is that a monitor lizard down in the bottom left-hand corner? I think so. I see a tail, possibly a water monitor there. But if you want to look for specific objects, I would say have a look for Messier 8, the Lagoon Nebula in Sagittarius. You can see that as a sort of a cigar-shaped cloud through binoculars. That is a star-forming region where baby stars are growing as we speak. And just above it, you'll find Messier 6, the butterfly cluster, which is a beautiful group of young stars just embarking on their stellar journey that, from our perspective, is shaped a little bit like a butterfly. You can just make it out with binoculars, a sort of an oval shape with little indentations where the wings would be. And through a telescope, you can see two little lines of stars at the front or the leading edge of the cluster, if you like, that look just like a pair of antennae, hence the name of the butterfly cluster. And then, of course, also have a look for the biggest and brightest globular cluster in the sky, Omega Centauri, which is in Centaurus, quite close to the Southern Cross. You can see it with the naked eye, and through binoculars, it's a little cloudy patch. Looks like a fuzzy golf ball or a little puff of cotton wool. And yeah, really well worth the look. You're looking at a group of 10 million stars there. Okay, well, our water monitor doesn't seem to be too active, so we're going to go to Camelthorne in Botswana, which is, I don't think, a camera that I have seen before. So let's go have a look. Beautiful, nice big group of zebra and more on the way. Craig, you're going back to our monkeys discussion. You're asking why impalas are always hanging around with baboons. Exactly the same reason, Craig, really. It's just makes sense. Lots of you. You've got the aerial view covered. You've got the terrestrial view covered. You've got an awful lot of eyes and ears around, and potentially the impalas will benefit as well because the baboons are up in the trees and they're knocking down leaves, they're knocking down fruits, they're dropping whatever it is that they're trying to feed on, and the impalas can hoover it up as well. So multiple relationships going on, but I agree, quite common to see impalas and baboons foraging together. Spas, you're asking what's Namibia's national animal. As far as I know, Spas, it is the gemsbok is Namibia's national animal. Another antelope species that's very, very prevalent out further west. A great mass of hippos at the back. Not often you see so many of them lying outside the water like that. It gives you a good idea of their actual true bulk. We often don't appreciate the size of hippos because we're so used to just seeing the tops of their heads. But it's a big animal. Look at those scars on the back there. Very normal to see hippos with scarring all over their body. And some very vocal zebras. Second from the back looks as if it's got some sort of dried blood on the surface as well, but you can see most of them exhibiting some scars, particularly the males as well. But I don't know if I've ever seen such a big pod of hippos just all clustered out of the water like that. You can see the next wave waiting on the top there to come in. Reminds me a bit of that scene in the Two Towers of the Lord of the Rings at the end during the Battle of Helm's Deep, where Gandalf turns up with the Rohirrim on the top of the ridge there and comes flying down to take on all the orcs. It's such a beautiful sound. One of my favourite sounds in the bush. Sounds of zebras. Joanna, I also thought the hippos were boulders, if I'm honest, when we first looked at them, and it just took a moment for my brain to process what we were seeing. It looks like sort of volcanic rocks that have been stacked up on the shoreline. Mindy Tillipau, you're also saying you haven't seen so many hippos out of the water like this before. I'm trying to cast my mind back when I was working in Tanzania in Katavi National Park, which is reputed to have the heaviest density of hippos and crocodiles of any national park in the world. And we saw lots of hippos, but I don't know if I ever saw sort of 30 or so hippos all lying outside the water like this. I wonder why. Mr. HUAE87 just reminding the zebras to be careful of any crocodiles in this dam. I'm sure they are being as vigilant as they can be. I think you also asked, somebody asked, who was it? It was Ivan. If there's a scientific reason that elephants look for the cleanest water, or is it just personal preference? Um, Ivan, I don't think that there is a scientific reason. I think, as you've stated there, it's personal preference. If you have the option to drink cleaner, nicer tasting water, why would you not take it? Probably the same reason these zebras are drinking from the nice flowing running water here. A, minimal risk of crocodiles in water only an inch deep, and B, running water, not stagnant. There's going to be less bacterial buildup, less algae, and other things in. Sure, but listen to those zebras. That's awesome. I'm not sure whether this dam is being fed from a pipe or if that is just runoff from the rains, but evidently it's tasty. But a very large gathering of zebras, still more in the background.
I met this remarkable rhino bull, whose name is Samson, last year in a place of extraordinary beauty, history and story. I'm going back there to see him in October, and I think you should come with me to his mysterious mountain fastness.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
Best sighting I've presented. I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala. We got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Step into the heart of Africa from the comfort of your home.
Female leopard tracks over here.
Join our expert guides for a live 3-hour safari where every moment is real, unscripted, and unforgettable. Ask questions.
Animals rely on their senses.
Share your thoughts and be part of the experience as we explore together. Safari Live.
Can you hear that? The wild is calling.
This youngster right at the back of the group of hippos is going off on his own for a little bit. Not sure what he would be eating. I can't imagine there's a great deal of nutritious grass growing there. Yeah, it was a very enjoyable first trip for me to Camelthorne. Sounds like we've got some giraffe back at Old Onyo. Let's head back up to Kenya. Always so many butterflies flitting around here at Old Onyo, taking advantage of this water. When we were watching the elephants earlier, it was like something out of a fairy tale with all the butterflies flitting around by the elephants' feet. It's a lovely side profile. See all the oxpeckers fiddling around on the giraffe's back and flank there. And somewhere, sort of in between the oxpeckers on the front, or in between the two that we can see now, would be that giraffe's heart. Very impressive piece of machinery, that heart, weighing around 12 kilograms, much heavier than you would normally expect a heart of that size to be. Look at all those butterflies again now. But it's got a lot of work to do, that heart, to pump blood up and down that neck, creating a massive blood pressure, around about, I think it's about 280 or 300 over 300 over 200, I think, giraffe blood pressure is. And of course, the elephants that we saw earlier, also massive hearts that they have, can be up to about 20, maybe even 25 kilograms, and it's an enormous thing. When I was at the Letaba Elephant Museum a couple of weeks ago, they've got a preserved elephant heart on display there, and it's huge. It's like the size of a shoebox, but still only contributes about 0.5% of the animal's body weight, which is about normal for most animals. The giraffe's slightly more because of that job. But I read an article this morning, actually, that we have found the organism with the heaviest heart compared to its body weight, a massive 4% of its body weight, is the weight of the heart. Relatively new research, I believe, that's just been done. So before I tell you, we'll see if anybody is on the pulse with their wildlife news. If you know what that organism is, let us know. Otherwise, I will let you know in a bit. Lucy Kahodi, you're asking what's the life expectancy of a butterfly? Honestly, Lucy, I can't really give you an answer for that. Generally speaking, most butterflies will only live for a few weeks or a few months, and generally not more than a season. So relatively short-lived. I'm sure there are differences between different species, and there may be some species that do survive for multiple seasons. But as far as I know, the vast majority, I'll hedge my bets, will only live for a few months. Yeah, sorry if you were getting some breakup on the audio. Hopefully that has helped. Okay, it sounds like we might have some more elephants at Roy's Dam. So let's head over and see what's going on there. It's an elephant's butt, is what we have. And a little one just peeking out from behind. It's not an elephant birth, don't worry. Hello. Close-up views. Oh, it was almost an opportunity to have a good close-up view of the elephant's eye we were discussing a little bit earlier. That one just getting a little nudge. Lovely to have such close-up views of these animals. So I particularly love it when they walk past the camera, like that one did just now. You just get a, generally speaking, in the wild, or if you're out on safari and you get that close, you've got too close. So nice to be able to watch them close up from the safety of home. Ah, well, dentist exam time. Cute. See those beautiful veins.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
South Africa's wild places are closer than you think because Federal Airlines brings them to you. From the calm of our FedAir lounge to the smooth boarding of our trusted fleet, we take care of the journey so you can enjoy the adventure. Our flights go beyond the ordinary, connecting you to South Africa's most remote and extraordinary locations. Federal Airlines, your gateway to the South African wild.
Out here, every wild moment counts, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you will not miss out. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7, and you can even rewind if you have missed out on something. Enjoy the behind-the-scenes video clips as well as fireside chat, or get the early offers on our travel experiences. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Which are ticks, but I'm sure they will also hoover up some small insects that they find living on the animal's skin as well. And I'm sure that if the opportunity arises and they see a nice, juicy sort of little grasshopper or cricket, I see no reason why they wouldn't take it. They are sort of quite closely related to starlings, which are insect-eating birds. Oh, careful. So I have no doubt that they do eat some insects, but the majority of their diet is ticks. Melanistic marble, you're saying they could reach up and move the camera. They could. When that big one walked past earlier, I did wonder whether it was actually going to have a little investigation of the camera. But just a very up close and personal view. Oh, is there anything cuter than a baby elephant? I don't know. Those baby cheetahs, perhaps, but look at the levels of interactions. Somebody asked me the other day, why does the tail hair for elephants not grow completely around the tail? And it's always sort of in a straight line, which I hadn't really thought about before, but you can clearly see it there. It's like a front part and a back part, creating almost like a claw shape. I don't know why they're not just bushy in general. But interesting how you sort of take things for granted, and then someone asks you a question, you're like, how have I never even thought about that? Malcolm Taylor, you want to know the average body length of a hippo from nose to bottom, I suppose? Somewhere between 3.5 and 4.5 meters on average, Malcolm, I would think. So a pretty, whoop, careful, almost headbutted the camera. Got rather asked to move a bit quickly by this one. But very close proximity, certainly. Amazing visuals. Little one considering having a drink on the far side. What are you doing, little one? Having a kneel down? Roger, if there's one animal or bird you'd like to see again for the first time, what would it be? Whoa. Wow, Roger, I don't know. It seems like such a cop-out to say a leopard, but I still remember my first leopard sighting, a glimpse in the spotlight during my guide training 20 years ago, and just how excited I was when I did see one in my work placement that I did for 6 months. I had a sum total of one leopard sighting, and I was very excited, as you could imagine. So I suppose that excitement of seeing an elusive leopard for the first time is pretty amazing. I don't know, from a bird perspective, maybe a lilac-breasted roller again, because it's just such a striking bird. It's very common and we take them for granted, but It really is one of the most beautiful birds on the planet. And when you first see one fly and that electric blue, sort of turquoise color of the wings, it is certainly very impactful. I've said this before, but it was the first safari my parents ever came on. That was one of the overriding memories my dad, who is not a birder at all, took away. When I asked him what his highlights were, it was seeing the lilac-breasted roller flying for the first time. So we do have a tendency to take them for granted. Picasso, you're suggesting that the elephants have that tail hair structure because the vertebrae aren't round? It could be. I don't know, but it's a good suggestion as any. Okay, but I think let's take a trip to the Eastern Cape to Founder's Lodge. That was a really nice elephant sighting, though. Thank you, Roy's Dam. Oh, look at that. A magnificent sable bull. Spectacular sweeping horns and a very regal pose against that backdrop. Strong animal as well. Look at the size of the neck and the shoulders. Almost jet black fur. Julian Thomas, you're saying you'd like to see an orange-breasted bushshrike again for the first time. One of your favourite birds. Yeah, absolutely. It is a spectacular bird as well. And there are so many of those particularly colourful ones. I've always loved the scarlet-chested sunbird as well. One of my favourites. The violet-backed starling, I think, is a magnificent bird as well. There are many. Mindy Tillepower was saying, what a screenshot. Yeah, someone should snap that and send it to this Sable so he could put it as his homepage. And that really is quite the pose. But not something you see in the wild very often in these parts. Quite a few breeding farms and things around, but not many of them out in the wild. I did speak to some friends the other day who did see sable in Kruger, so it is possible. But I could probably count the number of sable that I've seen in the Kruger Park on two hands, or number of sightings of sables over the years. Definitely not something you see every day. We did manage to dupe some people into thinking we saw one at Sabi Sabi once. We took a close-up picture of one in a book with a camera and then posted that picture onto a group. And we managed to fool a few people saying that we'd seen a sable on the way to the gate. But we had not. We were just being children. It wasn't mean, Nadine. It was creative. But there's some serious sweepage going on in those horns. They've gone back beyond 90 degrees. It's a pretty good weapon if a lion is jumping on your back. And then you can sweep and rake across your rear quarters with those swept back horns. Try and dispose of any annoying felines that you've got jumping on you. Celeste also commenting on what a majestic scene that we have and how beautiful this bull is. And I think he knows it. Okay, well, the stable's given us quite the show, but it sounds like our cheetah cubs are being adorable. So let's head back over to Hess. How cute is that? That's also a beautiful screenshot. Obviously, all of that rough and tumble earlier has tired everybody out, and they've completely passed out. But that is one very contented baby cheetah. Beautiful tear markings, just sort of encapsulating that nose. Very symmetrically, almost symmetrically perfect. I wonder what would happen actually if you took an animal, because if you've ever seen those pictures, it's quite distressing, or you can do it with yourself. Now, if you take a picture of yourself face on, and then just duplicate one side or mirror one side, and you do not look like what you actually do look like in real life because no one is perfectly symmetrical. But I somehow feel that this cub might be completely symmetrical. We wouldn't tell any difference if we did a mirror of one half of its face. It's definitely a full of fault you're saying, oh my word, how cute. Yeah, I don't think there's anything I can say to augment this view. It's just beauty personified, isn't it? So while there is a lull, I haven't received many suggestions as to what animal has the heaviest heart in terms of its body size. I'll give you a few more minutes in case anybody does want to send in some suggestions, but as you would imagine, it's not something obvious. I'll give you a clue in that it is found in the oceans. Joanna saying the sweetest thing. I agree. You can see why there are so many cuddly toys that are made modeling baby cheetah. Ooh, bit of a foot stretch. Think Hesk would notice if I popped down the road and chucked one of these in a backpack and ran away? Possibly. Oh, did you get disturbed? Oh. As you said, Joanne Mello, look at that face. Adorable. It's like a little bit of spear grass or something stuck on its cheek. And to get rid of that, those could be quite nasty. They can actually drill their way into the skin with those almost sort of threaded seed bases that they have. Any of you who've got dogs have probably had to pick out a few spear grass seeds from your dog's skin. Either get matted up into the hair, or if they actually do get down into the skin, they can quite literally drill into the skin and can potentially cause an infection. Celeste, you're suggesting the blue whale has the heaviest heart. I would agree with you in terms of just if you lined up all the hearts and weighed them, but I'm specifically asking for the heaviest heart in terms of percentage of body size. Stephanie Grunewald, you're suggesting a shrimp. Uh, you're getting closer. Getting closer. You're in the right sort of area of the ocean, at least. Haley Scrofeld saying baby cheetah face reminds you a little bit of a red panda. It does a little bit, actually. I don't think I've ever seen a red panda, but I know what they look like. And yes, they do. They almost look sort of baby bear-like, don't they? Ah, Sam, you're suggesting a hummingbird at 4% of its weight. Now, I'm going to double check that because that's I will help you. Well, I will tell you that it's also 4%, this other animal that I recently discovered. But if you're saying a hummingbird is also 4%, then I will give you that one. And we'll call it equally heaviest heart compared to the percentage of its body size. I've just done a quick check on your hummingbird there, and again, I don't trust everything I read on the internet, but I'm getting sort of 2.5 to 3%. But either way, a big heart, which would make sense because of all the energy it has to expend by beating those wings so quickly. See, Joanna, you're suggesting an octopus. Janet, an octopus. Again, you're all sort of getting closer, but I will put you out of your misery. Just an article that I read on Live Science this morning that I thought was very interesting. It's a thing called a scaly-footed snail or a volcanic or a volcano snail, also known as a sea pangolin. It's only a small thing, but it lives around the hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean, and it's only been discovered in 3 places. So it's considered sort of critically endangered because it is so dependent on very specific resources. But yeah, so really big, heavy heart, 4% of its body weight because it's such an oxygen low environment that it lives in. But what I thought was also pretty amazing is because there's lots of iron down there because of the geological activity, it doesn't have a standard calcium carbonate shell. It has scales basically made out of iron and iron sulfate. So these nanoparticles of iron sulfide on the underside, and then an outer layer of iron, basically, or ridges or layers of iron to protect it, possibly against the heat from down there as well. It can get up to 400 degrees Celsius close to those hydrothermal vents. So there's your interesting fact for the day. I like the fact that it's called a sea pangolin as well, but a scaly foot snail or a volcanic snail. But excellent chat with the hummingbird, Sam. So you may well be correct on that one as well. Twitchy eyes, is that REM sleep or is that just fidgeting? Karen, yes, I have seen a pangolin. I've seen a few pangolins, not as many as I would like to see, certainly. But I've probably seen about 10 pangolins in the wild over the years, maybe 15. Um, couldn't tell you when the last time I saw one was. But yeah, always special when you do get to see a pangolin. What I'm still waiting to see is a pangolin with babies riding on its back. That's something that I'd still love to see. I have friends who have seen that, but never seen baby pangolins myself. I don't know if some of you saw that Netflix documentary on pangolins recently, but I think one of the most harrowing things I heard on that was I can't remember the actual statistic now. The whites of his eyes. I want to say it was like something like 7 out of 10 pangolins that are killed are actually killed by fences and electric fences, that low strand that's normally only about sort of 8 or 10 inches off the ground, and the pangolins walking around on their back feet, a bit like a T-Rex. And they're walking forward, they hit that electric wire, and then they roll up around the electric wire and don't think to move because that's their defensive posture, and eventually succumb to that, which is such a shame. Okay, it sounds like we're going to head back over to Roy's Dam to our elephants. Oh, look at the little one. Gee, that's only a few weeks old. Oh, come on, engage low range. Slipping up the slope. So if the diff lock wasn't working, I hope the handbrake's working with that slope down to the water. Just kind of waiting for a splash as that youngster falls in the water.
Join me, Andrew Wistenholm, for an indescribable 6-night stay in the beautiful Albany of the Eastern Cape at Amakhala Game Reserve. Now, this trip is going to be action-packed with a lot of storytelling, adventure, as well as the opportunity to make everlasting memories. We'll be exploring the best of Amakhala by staying at 2 luxury lodges, which will be the perfect blend of comfort as well as wilderness. Book your spot today, and let's get ready to explore the wild beauty of Amakhala.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
My full name is Mpho Muthusi Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed said dog. Okay, no, wait. My first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was this Cedric when we had Mulwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
We are here with a male leopard.
I think that one was ousted rather unceremoniously. Dark spot in the middle of your head, little one. What's that there for? Is that just a I think it's probably just a splodge of water or mud. Definitely, yeah, lots of little ones in this group. So nice to see. Always entertaining. Oh, diff lock on. If you're going to go down the slope. So, you're going to drop onto your knees. Quite often they'll drop onto their back knees and just slide down, but evidently that wasn't quite steep enough to justify that. Wonder if we can spot that little tiny youngster again, or whether it's gone wandering off, exploring the world. No, they've all disappeared. Oh, there's one. Yeah, take it at the angle. Whoop! It slipped down the slope. Well controlled.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website. Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. You'll gain access to the channel ad-free. You can rewind and rewatch sightings and gain access to our live Tuesday safaris. There's also behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and every safari live episode, whenever it suits you. It's just the best way to connect with nature.
A few adults often like to lie under that tree, but I don't remember seeing too many young ones. I think it would be rude not to check in with those young cheetahs again. I think we only have about 6 minutes left now, I think, which is a shame. And what better way to spend them by looking at little cute balls of fluff. Are you following Mum, little one? Somebody asked a little bit earlier about why Mum is potentially restless and patrolling up and down the fence lines. Unfortunately, it's something we see in captive animals a lot. Particularly with cheetah, they're used to roaming over massive distances, now unable to do so because of their current situation. So it's almost like a little bit of institutionalization. I think you said often in zoos and captive animals are just patrolling up and down and up and down. Nadine's just informed me that she does sometimes get harassed by some of the local baboons. So maybe she's on patrol looking out for those baboons. Maternal instinct is always there, regardless of the situation. And whilst I've never heard of a baboon killing a cheetah cub, I could certainly imagine it's possible. They kill baby impalas, and this is half the size of a baby impala, so no reason why they couldn't do. She does look as if she's staring rather earnestly out in that direction. Maybe she has seen them in the distance. The youngsters seem to have developed a little bit more energy now. Canine girl, I'm glad you could join us, even if it is rather late. And yes, what a lovely scene to join us with. Beautiful cheetah cubs and a very proud mum. And David, you're saying they do look like little honey badgers. They do. Particularly with that silver mantle, that will go in a few months. I've never been completely convinced that an animal would mimic a honey badger. It just seems a bit random, whilst they are formidable. So I suppose it's quite possible. But I also think it does help with the reflection of the sunlight off the grass in open grasslands as well. Whether it's coincidental, whether it's nature's choice to mimic a honey badger, I'm not sure. But certainly, if I saw a honey badger coming towards me, I'd probably get out of its way. Incredible things that they are. Something as simple as a fallen log, a great place to play. But probably my best honey badger experience was when I was working at eco training at when they used to have the Salati camp, when we had a massive chocolate cake baked for one of the students, like a big chocolate cake, like a big square thing that was probably, I don't know, 45 centimeters squared. And we all had a little slice and went to go and eat around the fire. And when we came back, there was no chocolate cake, but there was a lot of chocolate honey badger footprints. And a honey badger had eaten the entire cake. They must have had the most almighty sugar rush. And we found it the next day lying under the deck, looking half dead, the way that honey badgers often do. But the following day, it was gone. So evidently, it was able to digest that cake. But yeah, the thing ate an enormous chocolate cake all on its own. Just the best part was the chocolatey honey badger footprints all over the table. Diane in Cape Town, you're saying that you actually saw these cheetahs being born. Yeah, I've seen the footage of it as well. Really special to be able to see. And as you said, amazing how quickly they grow. I think they're about 7 weeks now, if I remember. Interesting, there are quite a few of them, two of them have wandered off quite far. And this one's staying close to mum. Wildlife Lady, I'm glad you've enjoyed Live at the Waterhole today. It has been a great day. We've had some awesome sightings, some beautiful footage of these cheetah cubs, loads of hippos, loads of zebras at well, I can't remember where it was because I hadn't looked at it before, but the camera in Botswana. That was very cool. Beautiful elephant sightings, that spectacular camel thorn, sorry, that's where it was in Botswana. That very regal sable bull. So a really, really good day. And thank you all for joining us. I'm not sure what your plans are for the rest of Monday, but we're down to inside the last minute of the show. But I'll be back again tomorrow at 12:30, and we'll do this all again for another 2 hours. And who knows what we might see. But so whatever your plans are, thank you very, very much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I have today, and that you will be able to join us tomorrow. And you've learnt something new about a volcano snail or a volcanic snail with iron-plated shells. But I shall leave you with these beautiful visuals of playful cheetah cubs. How special.
This is Safari Spotlight, the journey into the wildlife wonders of Southern Africa. Join us on an enthralling virtual safari to relax, learn, and be inspired. Discover magnificent landscapes, meet our iconic animal stars, and enjoy stunning conservation success stories. If you would like to experience these magnificent wild places, visit Wild Earth Travel. The wild is calling.